begin learning the counseling techniques. So the first thing we want to do is learn and practice the counseling attitude. So the counseling attitude is kind of like a setting on your dial of emotional tone. And it's something you decide to do. And it's a certain state, it's a certain attitude, a certain state of being. The first step is thinking about how to give them good attention. You want to be giving them good attention. What is good attention? How do you know when someone's giving you good attention?
Eye contact.
Yeah. Although sometimes when somebody's looking at you, you can tell they're not really there, even if they're looking at you.
Yep.
So how do you know that they're, how can you tell they're really there, giving you attention?
Presence. Being grounded as well.
You feel their presence? You feel that they're grounded?
They're giving you physical cues, like shaking your head or moving a bit, or
They're responding
responding.
appropriately, right? They're like tracking. You can tell they're tracking you.
It helps me if I'm remembering to breathe, and I don't know if the person notices that or not. But
Yeah, right. That they're breathing and their responses are timely. Like, have you ever tried talking to someone who's writing an email?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and about
Guilty.
1 minute later, they go, yeah. So, the important thing to know is that when you're giving someone attention, you're actually giving them energy. You're giving them a gift. You are giving energy. Okay. Energy flows where attention goes. Energy flows where attention goes. So whatever you focus on, more energy goes there. Now that can be positive or negative, right? If you're really obsessing about something and worrying about something, it gets bigger. It gets bigger in your mind. It might even get worse in your life because you're feeding it energy. So, but positively, if you're focusing on what's positive, that gets bigger too. So it's a basic principle of manifesting and creating your own reality, is to know that what you are focusing on is getting bigger and getting more energy into it. And that can be anything. You could be focusing on a plant. You could be focusing on an animal. You could be focusing on yourself. Because your point of attention is your consciousness. It's your consciousness, and it moves energy to have consciousness focused on something. Yeah.
But an argument that I'm very familiar with, because very strong in my family, is then thus we don't focus our attention on our negative feelings and the stuff that happened in the past, because then we're just perpetuating that and not focusing on what, it's like an argument against
That no, actually, that's a very wise thing if you're not a client in session. Like, it's probably not good, and in RC they recommend that you don't focus on your distress unless you're a client in session, because that's when you can do something about it. Like, you don't want to be walking around just grinding around in your distress all the time, right? You want to try to have your attention out. If you can't keep your attention out because the distress is so insistent, then you need to become a client in session soon. You know, you need to make sure you're getting some way to deal with it. But in general, most people don't want to focus on their past distress because they don't have any way to do anything useful about it. They don't think it's going to be healing. They don't know how to heal it. So it is just like, oh, why should we drag around in it? You know, so it does make sense. If you have no options of healing, then maybe it is good to kind of ignore it. The problem is that it won't let you ignore it, right? Because life keeps bringing these situations that trigger it, because it's booby-trapped, it's triggerable. Things are always happening that bring it up again. So even if you're trying to ignore it, like I said, it takes a lot of energy to hold it down. So those of us that have decided that it's a good idea to do emotional work have come to terms with that, like, oh, I actually can't avoid this. I am going to need to feel my feelings and take responsibility for them and heal them. So how can I do that more effectively? It's a train of thought that a lot of people have not had, and they have no clue that it's even possible. Yeah. Sometimes the news that you can feel feelings and heal them is a whole revelation. It's like they've like, no, that's not possible. In fact, even a lot of traditional psychology is, well, you have an obsession, you can't do anything about it. You're just stuck with it, you're always going to be like that. Now we need to give you drugs.
Yeah.
Right? So there isn't a concept that you could actually shift it and get out of it and really transform yourself. So it's radical. You know, these are radical ideas, and they're ideas that are part of pretty much any spiritual tradition. You know, that you can transform and that you can deal with and transmute negative experiences and energies. So the counseling attitude, you're giving them energy, it's a gift, and you can choose if you want to give that gift or not. Right? So if somebody's asking you for attention, starting to talk about their distress, wanting you to give them attention, you can decide if you want to do that or not. Because this happens all the time in all the relationships during the day. Do you have attention right then? Do you feel good enough in yourself, or is it going to be a draining experience for you right then? Generally, I don't agree to give someone attention unless I have extra energy and I feel pretty good already. I have extra time. I'm not rushing to do something. Then I'll go, yeah, you know, I can. Somebody asks me randomly, I'll hang out with them and give them attention. I don't feel like we owe anyone attention, even our lovers, except perhaps our children, the children that are dependent on you. And even then, you don't have to give them all the attention they need, but you do need to make sure somehow that someone does, right? So you aren't neglecting them.